So what we're going to do, I've asked Karen to demonstrate the presentation. So we're going to do this in a two-step process. I told you guys the other day. Actually, I'm going to give you one of these, Karen. Now, the way that Karen sells now is not the way that she started selling in the beginning, the way that we're going to teach you. She's accelerated to a point where 80% of the time she can close in the first meeting. What we want to do is demonstrate how we want you guys to start. So it's a two-step process we talked about the other day. So the first meeting that we're going to witness here, Karen's objective is really just to find out where Larissa is in her life, what her goals are, what her wants are, find out what's getting in her way, and then suggest that, listen, I can help you get there. I can make that happen for you. And I've got a program that can do that for you. I'd like to get together with you again tomorrow, and I'd like to show you how we're going to make that happen. And so what we do, I said the other day, literally, that Bob just said, Doug, read the front cover and read the inside cover, and then hand it to them, and then give them these questions and ask them to take them home and give them really serious consideration. And bring your answers back tomorrow, and I'll show you how we'll get you what you want. And so the second meeting is about the enrollment process. So we're going to have Karen demonstrate the first meeting, and then what you guys are going to do is you're going to break out and you're going to go practice it. And then later on, Karen's going to demonstrate the second meeting with Larissa. Do you need a pen or paper? Do you want any notes or anything? Or are you good? You good?
I would if I was on the phone with somebody, just
right.
FYI. Like if I was on the phone and doing it, I'd take notes.
Right. But
if I'm face-to-face, I might have a notepad and pen out, but I am less likely to take notes from face-to-face.
Yeah, okay, cool. So we'll have Karen do the first meeting, and then she's going to meet Larissa this afternoon and take her through the program and how she can help her.
All right, Larissa, lovely to see you. Thanks so much for taking the time to catch up. How are you?
Really, really great.
Beautiful. Well, what I thought we would do today is I would love to get to know you a little bit more and find out where you're at, what you're looking for, and how I might be able to help you. So what I want to do is if you could share with me a little bit about your goals, where you're at, the improvements that you want to make, and then we'll take you into the program and see if it's a good fit for you.
Okay.
Where are you at? So you live in Windsor?
Yeah, so I'm still there. I'm still with my daughter, and I've been writing.
So you're a mum, you've got a daughter?
Yeah, so...
How old is she?
She's 8.
Oh, lovely. What's her name?
Brooklyn.
Oh, lovely. Beautiful. And what do you do? What's your business now?
So I know I've been wanting to write forever, but I've finally become a writer, and I write full time. So that's great.
And what do you write?
I'm a ghostwriter.
Oh, very good. And is this a new business of yours?
Yeah, I started a couple years ago. I've always wanted to write, but I finally decided to do something I really wanted to do.
Okay. And how's that going for you, Larissa? Are you where you want to be in that business? What sort of goals have you got with your writing?
One day I'd love to become a New York Times best-selling author, but that's still a little far out. But for now, I just published a book, and I'm working on my second one.
Okay. And is that the first book you've published?
Yeah, I self-published it.
And how long have you wanted to be a New York Times best-selling author?
Forever.
And why is that?
It's just something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. And what would it mean to you if you could become a New York Times best-selling author?
Yeah, I think it would just make my dreams come true. I know a lot of other people have done it, and so I feel like I can do it too.
Okay. And what is it about becoming a New York Times bestseller that part of you craves, that part of you knows that's what's meant for me? What is it about that?
It's just a dream I've always had. Okay. I've always wanted to write, and it's like the pinnacle of achievement.
And have you thought about when you would like to accomplish that goal by?
Well, I'm hoping within a couple years, but I know it's a lot of work, so I'm just not sure how that would happen.
Okay, so is it like 2 years or 3 years or 1 year? And I'll explain why I want you to get specific in a little bit, but what do you want it to be? 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years from now?
Well, I'd love it to be 1 year, but maybe we'll say 3 years.
Okay, well, I'm going to come back to that with you. Do you have any other goals that if we were to work together you think I should know about?
That's pretty much what I'm focused on right now.
That's what you're focused on?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about financially? Has your income been increasing? What's the most you've ever earned in a year before?
1 month I earned like $8,000, but that only happened once.
Okay.
And so.
And when you imagine yourself as a New York Times bestselling author, what do you imagine your income to be?
I think I could have like $250,000. That would be really cool. But hopefully it can go up from there.
Okay. Have you ever earned $250,000 or more
Oh, no.
before?
No.
So what's the most you've ever earned before?
Like usually $5,000 a month, but 1 month it was about 8. So lately it's been around the 5 to 6 mark.
So that would be around about $50,000 to $65,000 a year. Is that about right?
Yeah, it varies, but something like that.
Okay, no problem. And how would you be living if you were earning the $250,000? What sort of changes or improvements might you make in your life?
I'd probably be able to go on a vacation. I've never done that before, and I've never taken my daughter on a vacation.
Oh, that's so lovely. And where would you want to take your daughter?
I have no idea, but vacation sounds great.
So you've never taken a holiday before?
No, we've just stuck around town.
Okay.
I go visit my parents, but that's about it.
So this is really cool. I love this. And the reason why I love it is because we have to have a worthy goal in our life that's meaningful for us. Because what I'm going to teach you over the next little bit is about our goals are actually pictures. And they're pictures that we hold in our mind. And when we think about creating change or any sort of improvement in our life, there's got to be something that's worthy there to enable us to make that change. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, I look on YouTube and I see all these videos about like manifestation, and I try to do those things, and it's great because I've become an author, and I never knew I could do that before.
Yeah.
But there's always like, I feel like there's something holding me back, and I don't know what to do about that.
Well, let's see if we can work out what might be holding you back then. So the way I want to do that is look at, over the next 6 to 12 months, what would be some changes or improvements that you would like to see take place in your life?
I hadn't really thought about that.
Well, let's think about it now. What do you think? Like if we were to work together, let's say this was a really good fit and we were to work together, what would you say would be, Karen, if you could show me how to make 1 or 2 things really happen in my life over the next 12 months, what would you want that to be? In your heart of hearts.
If I could make more money and just, I'm in a custody battle with my ex.
Okay.
Just make that go away.
All right. So how much more money over the next 12 months? Let's just look at it over 12 months. How much more money? Not what you think you can earn over the next 12 months. Like what would really be life-changing for you over the next 12 months?
If I could keep my income at like $8,000 a month, that would give me more breathing room.
Okay, so I think if my calculations are correct, that would be around about $100,000 a year. Is that right? Have you worked
that's
that
a
out
lot.
before?
That's a lot of money. So
do you think?
yeah, but I mean that would be really awesome.
Okay, so one of the reason why at the moment you think that's a lot of money, that's actually not a lot of money, $8,000 a month. But the way your mind is programmed at the moment, you have what we call a self-image paradigm. And that self-image at the moment is set to you earning $5,000 or more a month because that's the result that's showing up. So what I'm going to teach you how to do is how to really start to reprogram your mind like you're actually earning that $8,000, $10,000. I mean, I think $10,000 is a nice round number. That's an
sounds
easy,
pretty good. Sounds pretty
That's
good.
an easy $120,000 a year. And also it means that's just doubling your income. So I always say, Larissa, that anybody that I work with, that if you have a money goal or a financial goal, that you could reasonably expect to triple your income within 3 to 4 months of working with me. So doubling it, how does that sound?
It sounds nice, but how do you do that? Like, what do you do to get there?
Okay,
'Cause
well-
everything sounds good, and I believe that it is possible, but like, how does that happen?
Well, you know what? We don't even have to worry about the how until we make some decisions about what we want. So I promise you, I will explain the how to you, but I just want to really go deeper with you for a moment around your goals and where you're at.
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit more? Have you invested in any learning and development over the last 12 months at all? Have you spent any money on yourself over the last 12 months?
I had a coach earlier
Okay.
this year.
Sure.
So when I started writing, I made a little extra money. So I had a coach for 3 months.
And how did you feel about that coaching relationship?
I learned a lot, and she really got me to start changing how I think. But like, I feel like there was still something missing.
Okay, no problem. And how much have you spent on yourself? What's the most amount of money you've ever invested in yourself?
I think it was that coaching.
And how much was that coaching?
It was. It was for 6 months, and it was $3,000.
Okay, all right, no problem, that's good. And let's look forward. What else do I want to know about you, Larissa? Any other personal goals? So we've spoken about money. So we want to get your income at a minimum of doubling that over the next 12 months. You want to become a New York Times best-selling author. What else? Like, you've got a huge opportunity here. Like, we can work on whatever you want to work on. Just suppose we could improve anything else. What else might you want to work on?
I'd love to buy a house. That would be really exciting.
Okay, just throwing that one in the air, aren't you? Tell me about the house then.
It would have to be new because I've always lived in old places,
Yeah.
and I don't like fixing things, and
Me neither.
they're always dirty, and so I'd love a new house.
Okay, tell me, where would the house be? In Windsor, where you live at the moment?
Yeah, maybe out in the country. The county's beautiful.
So I want you to imagine this, Larissa. I want you to imagine that you are a New York Times best-selling author. You are now earning a minimum, I keep on thinking about $250,000. Did we discuss that?
Yeah,
figure?
that was a number I thought I'd like within a couple of years, but I just don't know how to do that. So
Do you want to do it?
I would love to.
Well, why don't we make that your goal?
Okay.
Okay, so just imagine you are now a New York Times best-selling author and you're earning a minimum of $250,000 or more a year. I was going to say a month.
That would be crazy. But,
Okay.
but I'm open. You know, 250 is like my first step.
All right, that's good. Well, we want to turn your annual income into your monthly income, and then you can just keep doing it. Once I teach you this process once, you can keep doing it.
I like the sound of that.
Okay, that's good. See, my mind is already taking you to a place where I know you can go, but we've got to work with what you want. So what I want you to think about is $250,000 more a year. That is going to be around about $20,000 a month or $5,000 a week or $1,000 a day.
That's awesome.
5 days a week. So I want you to think that you're now a New York Times best-selling author and you're earning $1,000 a day. What sort of house are you living in?
It's big.
How many bedrooms? Where would it be? I want you to imagine with your daughter in that house.
Maybe even like 3 or 4 bedrooms. We don't need a lot. It's just the two of us.
Yep.
But maybe I'll actually find a guy that's decent. Like I said, I stopped just finding those other guys, and I'm really raising my standards because I look back at all these people that have been in and out of my life, and I've just decided I'm not going to put up with that bullshit anymore. So I'm
Good.
going to, but it's hard to find people that are like thinking positively out there.
Do you know that I actually manifested my husband?
Really?
I did.
Wow. How'd you do that?
I wrote a list. Well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
This is about
this
you,
is
right?
very cool. I'd like to dream one of those up too.
Yeah, okay. I can show you how to do that. I can show you how to do a lot of things. All right, so you're in a big house. So let me just get clear so I'm really understanding what's most important to you here. So the New York Times bestselling author, $250,000 or more a year, yes, and the house, a holiday with your daughter. Now, if you were to say to me, Karen, more than anything else, over the next 6 to 12 months, if you said to me, I have to choose one of those, more than anything else to make happen, which one would it be?
New York Times bestselling author.
And why?
Because I've wanted it forever, and I know it can happen. It's just a matter of time.
Okay, all right. So let's have a look here. There's a couple of things that we've got to understand what's going on. So I'm going to get you to do a little bit of homework after I explain this to you. So number one, you have to understand, Larissa, that all of your results are a product of you. So where you are right now in life is a product of all the thoughts and ideas you've taken and internalized up until this point in time. So anytime you want to change something on the outside, you have to change the inside first. It has to start within you. Now, you're not earning the $5,000 a month because that's what you want to earn. It's because at the moment you're not aware of how to earn the $20,000 a month and become the New York Times bestselling author. Because if you were aware of how to do it, it would have happened already. Would you agree?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense, right? So what we have to understand is that we've actually got two parts to our mind. We've got the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So we can know what we want. We can see the New York Times bestselling author, the house, the holiday.
The list keeps growing.
The man, right? We can see that on the screen of our mind, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I want you to understand that only 2 to 4% of your day is actually conscious, and 96 to 98% of the way you operate is automatic. It comes from the subconscious mind. So what I'm going to teach you, what I'm going to show you how to do, is how to reprogram your mind like you are already a New York Times bestselling author. So you believe it. You believe it with every cell of your body so that you start to think like that person. You start to act like that person. You start to live in the house like that person. You start to earn the money like that person. Like you are, Larissa, a New York Times best-selling author. And what I'm going to teach you how to do is how to totally change the way you see yourself, the way you think, the way you operate, so that you are always coming from that place of being a New York Times best-selling author. Now, the second thing that I really need you to understand, Larissa, is around paradigms. Like I said, 96 to 98% of the way you operate is automatic, and that actually comes from the paradigm. Now, what is a paradigm? A paradigm is a multitude of habits that condition you to operate in a certain way. It's a mental program that's part of your subconscious mind. And your most important and powerful paradigm, in my opinion, is your self-image. The only thing that is holding you back from becoming a New York Times bestselling author is your self-image, and I think you know that.
Probably.
Deep down, don't you?
Deep down, yeah.
You know you're capable of more.
There's always been something missing, and I can't put my finger on it.
Well, look, self-image was huge for me. That was the thing that was holding me back as well. And when I really learnt this, when Bob Proctor taught me how to change my self-image, everything started to change. So I'm going to teach you exactly what he's taught me as to how to change your self-image. So there's a couple of things I really want you to understand, Larissa, around self-image. Number one is that self-image is a picture and it's programmed in your subconscious mind, and you have two self-images. You have the image that you project to the outside world, and you have that image on the inside. And it's actually that image on the inside that's going to direct the course of your life. And you cannot outperform your self-image. So the problem is most people think, I'll just go and read another book. I'll just go and do another course. I'll just watch The Secret again, right? Thinking that's going to get the change that they're looking for. But you can't just try harder to outperform your self-image. No matter what happens, you will always come back to that last image that you have consciously or not programmed in your subconscious mind. And right now, you have outgrown your self-image. You want more. You have a desire for more. And what I'm going to teach you how to do is how to build a new self-image where you are already earning $250,000 or more a year. You are a New York Times bestselling author, and you are living in that house. Can you see that picture right now?
Yes, but I feel like I've done these exercises before, and they've just, something's always been missing. Like they've never worked, and
That's
so
right.
I don't.
They haven't.
Yeah.
No.
So that's. It all sounds good in theory because it sounds great and I really, really want it, but then how do you make it happen?
Okay. So let me really get a feel for where you're at. Are you at a point in your life where you're really ready for change?
I think so.
Are you willing to make a committed decision?
I feel like I am committing to myself. Like I wake up every morning and I write. I take my daughter to school, then I work on my ghostwriting. I really do work on myself. I try to visualize. I do the goal setting. I do all these things. Sometimes I don't believe them, but I'm trying, and I don't feel like I believe them.
And what if you could stop trying and actually started to create the results? What would that mean for you?
That would be great, because it's something I really want. I just don't know how to do.
Okay, I'm going to show you how to get it, but I need you to do some work for me. Are you up for doing this?
Yep, I like homework.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I want to book a follow-up call with you. And in that follow-up call, I'm going to take you through the exact process that I'm going to teach you as to how to make this happen. And we're going to go deeper into some of those concepts that I've explained today around paradigms, around self-image, around your mind, about how to reprogram that 96 to 98% that's controlling you right now. You just haven't learnt how to create this paradigm shift. You just haven't learnt yet how to work at the root cause that's producing these results. But I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that, okay?
That's great.
So what I want you to do, Larissa, is I want you to go away tonight and I'm going to give you this brochure and I want you to study it. Like, not just like, oh, here's a program brochure. I want you to actually study it line by line, and I want you to answer these 8 questions that I'm going to give you and really think. They're not easy to answer, but they're worth it. And I want you to do those 2 things. Then I want you to take a pen and paper. I want you to get a cup of tea, go and sit out on your veranda or your balcony, and I want you to think about your life 12 months from now. And I want you to write a new self-image script of you as that New York Times bestselling author. And I want you to write it in the present tense with positive language. I'm so happy and grateful. Now I'm the New York Times bestselling author. And I want you to detail everything about your life of where you want to be 12 months from now. The clearer you can be on that, and it's okay if you don't have all the detail, we'll go through that tomorrow. But I want you to be as detailed as possible as you can be. And tomorrow when we come back, we're going to go through that together and I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to help you make that self-image real 12 months from now. How does that sound?
It sounds exciting.
Great. Well, that's your homework and I'll see you back here tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Excellent. Thanks so
awesome.
much.
Lovely. I'm really looking forward to reading it. Beautiful.
All right. Well, I'm not surprised how good that was.
She's really good.
She's really, really good. Corey and I were sitting in the back going, Karen's got this so good. So we're gonna take you through a little feedback model that you guys can use, but I'm going to do this right now, and then we'll take a bit of questions from the audience around how this meeting went. So, Larissa, what do you think Karen did really well in this?
She kept persisting until she really found my goals. She didn't just stop at one, but she didn't like interrogate me, and she was really kind about it, and she paid attention to me. I think like she treated me like a person, and it wasn't just like going through a script. It was like, I am here with you.
Yeah, you were having a conversation. Yeah.
And she's on my side.
Yeah.
She really wants to help me and make this work.
Yeah, cool. What else did she do well?
She asked excellent questions.
Yeah.
And she included me in the process. It wasn't just her talking about everything. It was a two-way conversation.
Yeah. So how did you feel by the end of that meeting?
I felt excited. I felt a little nervous. Like if I was this client, it would be like butterflies in my stomach, and hopeful.
Yeah. And you were emotionally involved in that conversation, even though you're up here simulating, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is the kind. These are some of the people that I've spoken with, and so.
But
yeah,
you were feeling it yourself though too, to some degree.
Oh yeah, for sure,
absolutely,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So even in simulation, Karen got her emotionally involved, right? Even though you were playing somebody else. So, what do you think you did really well?
Asked a lot of questions and really kept going back to. I'd go back to the New York Times or the Money to just really feel which one she was more connected with, that I would then use. So in my mind, I was identifying that so I could use it throughout the rest of the conversation as the point. Asked why, and also reassured her when she didn't have the answer. So instead of actually allowing us to stop that simulation, I reassured her, it's okay, take your time, let's work it out.
Yeah.
Or when she said, oh, I don't have an answer for that, I said, that's okay, let's think about it now.
Yeah.
So I gave her permission to not know and sit in the unknown to work it out. So I created space for her to do some work actually on the call. So no matter what would have happened at the end of that, she would have left going, I got some value from that conversation. So I think I did that really well.
One other thing I forgot to mention is at the end when you were talking about our brochure, like it wasn't just a brochure, it was like, this is a really important piece of paper and this is something that's going to change your life. She got me to commit to really not just reading it, but studying it. And I've never thought of placing that much importance on something like that. And I think that was really powerful for me because I was like, you know, it is really good. And when you just say, hey, read this and we'll talk again, that's a lot less powerful than what Karen said.
Yeah.
She really got me to commit to, or at least mentally, to doing that.
Yeah, when Bob showed me, he said, now hand it to them like this. So hand it to them. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to really work on this tonight. And I want you to take this seriously. And it's not a brochure. It is a brochure, but I want you to really study it. Now, are you committed to doing that? And I take it away. He said, take it away from them. He said, are you really?
So mean.
Are you really? It's not mean. I was being
Aaron
very
wouldn't
nice.
do that.
But he said the idea was to make sure they were committed. You kind of just hold it or wait for them to grab it from you, you know, because you want to make sure that this is serious stuff. So what else did you do well?
Questions, why? I think I got a good feel for where she was. So that's a question that I often ask, you know, how much have you invested in yourself? And that gives me an indication about where her self-image is set. So I think I did really well in getting a feel for, you know, come the next part of the call, what paradigms, if any, I might need to bring out ahead of the game. Yeah. So I'm always looking to be ahead of the prospect, and I was controlling the conversation. So any time it looked like she was saying, yeah, but how? Or I've done this before, I would redirect her back to a question. Yeah. So I wasn't letting her have any control over the discovery session. Yeah. So I kept being the position of authority, and I also my tonality. So I use, I'm going to teach you when I show you. You just don't understand yet. Right. So really positioning like you're the student and you need to pay attention to what I'm saying. Yeah. So just my tonality and my language in speaking to her. But obviously it was subconscious to subconscious, so it didn't come across like she's putting me down here at all, because it was done in harmony with the law. Yeah, beautiful. Can I borrow that microphone, Larissa? Does anybody have any questions about what you witnessed up here, about the presentation, or how? Any questions for Karen about this?
So you don't take notes, but you've never met her. What do you do to remember the pertinent information for tomorrow's meeting or whenever the next meeting is? Or you don't take notes when you're in person, you're saying, so you pay attention to them?
Absolutely. I'm always listening to understand, so I'm building a picture in my mind of what she wants. And I'm asking enough questions, and this is, obviously I've learnt over the course of doing it, but enough questions that she will tell me enough times what her main point is. But I might need to draw it out of her with different questions. And then once I find the main hook, I keep that the main thing for the rest of the conversation. So as soon as I found it, in the beginning I had to ask a few more questions, and then she brought out the house, and I asked the question about, well, what's the number one thing, to see which one she would come back to. So once I found that, then that's what I keep the main thing. So I'm just listening to understand, like I'm fully present. If I'm on a phone call with somebody, I will actually write listen at the top of my notepad, before I get on the call. And it's just a trigger to stay fully present with that person on the call. And as I might be making notes on that call as I'm tuned in, and I will make notes like of what to teach them. So they might be very much around goals, and I'll make a note on my pad to ensure that I relate back to this is the thing that you need to overcome. Or I just try and tune in to the only way to get someone to do anything is to make them want to do it. So for her to want to do this, I have to find out what she really wants. And then I also have to find out why she hasn't got it and hold her in her pain point, which sounds very dramatic, but it's not. The reality is that we will only take action that's uncomfortable if it's meaningful for us, if we're going to get anything on the other side. Psychologists have likened change and growth to torture on the human mind. So I've got to make sure that I'm aware and she's aware, like I have fully brought up into her consciousness her wants, so that she's very, very aware and in this space now, oh my God, I didn't realise how much I wanted that. Yes, I will do anything to get that. So I have to draw that out of her as the coach, the salesperson on the call. Does that answer your question? You won't forget if you're fully present. Right. That would probably be your own confidence or self-image, thinking, oh, I'm going to forget. You won't.
Yeah, you won't. You won't. Anybody else have a question for Karen? Yes, sir.
I was just curious. There was a thing brought up about custody, and that can be a very, very negative issue in people's lives. And but I didn't hear it come up again. It was almost glossed over. So wondering how you manage to. Sometimes people can get really stuck on that issue, or some really negative issue going on in their life, but you're able to keep it positive. So just wondering, how did you actually accomplish that?
I guess I try to keep it really simple. My role is to find out what she wants. And yes, she wants that to go away, but she wants the New York Times bestselling author more. She wants the income more. And so people will tell you, she will tell me a lot in a conversation, and she wouldn't tell me that if part of her didn't think that I could help her solve that problem. But it's of no service really to her in this particular setting for me to go down that road with her. My role in this environment is to hold her to her wants. Before I can help her, I have to sell her. And the only way I can get her into the game of working with me, and I sometimes say this, I say, I can't coach you from the sidelines, you have to get in the game if I'm really, needing to work with. So at this point in time, I'm hearing that, but that is not the most important purpose of this conversation. The most important purpose of this conversation is to identify what she wants and show her how to get it and help her move beyond her limiting paradigms or beliefs or whatever's holding her back, so that she can get into the coaching program and work with me, and then we can work on everything else. Make sense?
Okay, cool. Sandy, you still have a question?
Karen, you used self-image for this particular simulation. Just as a matter of interest, do you tend to use as the self-image paradigm for most of it? Given I agree, most of us have self-image issues.
Look at me. I'm fine.
No, me. Given our conversations. I was curious whether you tend to take that route.
I mentioned self-image in almost every value piece of a call. It comes up at the end. So there is a bit of a mental structure that I move through, and it's very, very similar to what Arash teaches. I talk about the inside doesn't change, the outside won't change. I talk about, you're not earning that because that's what you want. You don't know how to earn this. I talk about the 96 to 98%. I talk about I'm going to teach you how to reprogram the part of your mind. Then I talk about paradigms, and then I talk about self-image, and then I generally, if I'm doing a one-step, will then go into this is what I'm going to teach you how to do. So self-image, generally speaking, comes up in every time I do the value piece in a call. I will touch on it, just so that they understand that at the core of everything, the reason why you're not where you're at is because your self-image is not in harmony with the goal. So,
Okay, good. Marco.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Marco.
You gave her a exercise to write out the self-image. Could it be that after doing so, she would feel a shift, and at the second meeting, she would say, "Hey, I got the shift. It's good. I don't want to move on"?
Not usually. I think that'll be part of a paradigm that you would need to work on. She doesn't know how to make that happen. She's already said to me, "I don't know how to. I've done this before, but I don't know how to make happen." And I've acknowledged that. I'm like, yes, you haven't got the results. I'm going to teach you why. The reason why I gave her this self-image exercise, which is something that I'll often, if I'm in a two-step process and I feel it's necessary, particularly I wasn't sure in this conversation how emotionally involved she was yet. So the self-image exercise is a way in which I can send her away, and I would also generally get them to email it to me as soon as it's done, so I have it before I'm on the call with them. So it's a little bit of an accountability piece. I would say, I want you to email that to me as soon as you've written it tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. And it's a way in which getting them really clear on where they want to be. So when I come in for the second part of the call, it is very fresh in her mind, and she sees herself where she wants to be 12 months from now. And then I'm able to use that. It's very present in her own awareness on the second call.
I'm glad you said what you said when you started. As Marco was asking the question, that's generally what we do. It is our paradigm. So as soon as he was talking, I go, you're thinking about in advance of what might happen in the second meeting. In fact, you're thinking in advance of what might happen in the first meeting. So one of the rules you want to have going to the first meeting is don't make shit up. Don't make assumptions about anything. The reason this went, there's lots of reasons it went so well, but Karen, she just locks in on the person. And she just focuses and just listens and follows the person based on really good questions, really good answers. She's not up there. All Karen knew was that she was simulating this morning. That's all she knew. Now, I knew what Larissa wanted to do. Larissa came up to me and said, "Hey, I'd like to, be the customer, et cetera." And we said, "Okay, great, I'll put you on stage." And I said, they just whispered for a couple of seconds, so Karen got an idea of who she was. And you watched it unfold. But Karen knew nothing other than a few little snippets that Larissa gave her in that moment, on stage, on camera. Because she's not making anything up. She just has really good questions, and then she just follows. But what we do, though, is we go in, and that's your own self-image and self-confidence. Are they going to talk? Are they going to give me money? What are they going to? You make stuff up in your mind. Don't do that. In fact, you don't even know, Karen doesn't even know if she can help her until she sits down to talk with her. Bob said the other day, people don't want to hear about the program. They want to find out if you can help them. Right? If you can help them, and they want help, then you talk about the program and move to the next meeting. But when you go to the meeting, in 10 minutes, you go, "You know what, I can't help you." That might happen. Or you might meet somebody, "I don't want to even work with them." That might happen too. So don't make anything up going into the meeting. And that's your paradigm doing that. Anybody else have any questions for Karen? Yes.
Well, this is almost more of an observation on what you did well. Because what I noticed was that no matter what she said, you didn't get shaken. Like, you were so confident, and you didn't go like, "Oh shit, what am I going to say next?" Or "How do I respond to that?" Or "Oh my God!" It's like you were so, and there was never like this desperation, or it's just that you were so cool, and you were so rock solid. Like, "I'm going to help you," and I just think that that's really worth pointing out, that because it was the energy and that confidence, and the confidence gave you the knowledge of what to say next. And I think that was, for me, really what stood out, and that demonstration was really excellent.
I think it didn't always used to be like that. And I know most of you, there's a very large percentage that are very new. And it was probably Doug, Bob, both of them. When I got started, I was scared of what they would think of me. And I was thinking about how might they perceive me. And very early, Bob and Doug taught me that if you're thinking about yourself, you're not focused on them. So you have to just really release yourself in going into those calls and be fully present on them. And that's the listening habit. That's the listening to understand, the asking the questions. Even when there were houses and she said, I don't want to fix a house. I'm like, oh, neither do I. Or she wants a boyfriend. I'm like, oh, I manifested. I didn't spend any time talking about me. I could have. And I would have 3 years ago. I would have gone off and had a little chat about what I've done. But now it's just that those little techniques that I use there is building trust and rapport. So she's trusting me and we're building rapport that she kind of gets where I'm at. So you want to do that going into your calls. If you find a hook, you might touch on it and say, oh, I've done that. You don't go into it, but you're just planting that seed that I understand where you're at. And that is going to make the second conversation a lot easier. And particularly if you've never met the prospect before, you have to build, in your lead up to meeting them or in that first conversation, you have to look for an opportunity to build trust and demonstrate value and build rapport. If you already know the person, they probably already trust you. You've got to focus more on the value piece. How I can really serve you. But when I got started, I'd go into calls very scared, but I was thinking about me rather than focusing on them. And when I flipped that, it just became easier.
The thing you understand too is Karen was once just like you, sitting in the room, watching somebody on stage demonstrate the presentation. Brand new, just started in the business and came here. So don't be intimidated by how good she is and how strong she is and how in control she is. It came through loads of practice, like practice with simulations and mostly real life practice with real live customers. And so every one of you, and there's many people in the room that are just as good as Karen. If we have time, we'll have somebody else do it, and you'll see a different style, different approach, but you'll see very similar things. But she's good for lots of reasons. One of the reasons she's really, really good is because she's extremely committed. She's committed. Many of you are interested in this business. Many of you are interested in getting clients and earning income. Many of you are interested in this training. In fact, I was watching around the room as Karen and Larissa are demonstrating, and some of you weren't even watching. You're on your phone, you're doing something going, well, they're interested. And then there's other people who are like writing notes like crazy, paying attention, recording. You're committed. And that's what sets people apart. And that's what sets Karen apart in her performance, in her results, in what you witness on stage. She's committed. And so you got to make up your mind. Are you interested or are you committed? And it's your choice. The difference is huge. It's huge. And like, she's barely scratching the surface of where she's going. Like, she's really good, but she's not that good. She's really, no, what I mean by that is that like she's so good, it's all relative, right? But like she's just getting going. Like it's going to explode. It is exploding. And it's just going to get bigger and bigger. Like what Bob said the other day, I mean, I think about this often too. So he's 84. I'm pretty much around the same time. I'm 54. I think, geez, 30 years from now when I'm 84, I'll be way beyond him. I will be, right? Same thing. I mean, just Bob said it. You guys, like, we're in a time now where, like, when Bob started, if you hear some of the stories of what he was doing, driving around with huge chalkboards on the top of his Cadillac, to get to a seminar, right? I mean, we're in a time now where we can reach so many people. And so, anyway, I just wanted to make that point. That's what sets Karen apart and why she does so well and she's so good, because she's committed. So, any other questions?
I think Ben's got one just in front of you there, Doug.
Ben, you got a question? Do it.
Not a question, but an observation. And further to Aurelia and Karen, there was just a point in the simulation which I thought was really stood out to me as sort of being quite honest and focused on the client. And that was when I thought, Karen, you may have got a little bit stuck, or at least I would have, and probably then launched into the program. But you actually said, okay, I need to know a little bit more about you. I need to, I need some more information to get to know you a little bit better. Or you made some comment like that, which I thought was really just very calm and honest. And you were able then to get more information out of the person, out of the client.
Yeah.
Larissa.
Larissa wanted to go to the how early on.
Very early.
And then Karen said, well, wait a minute. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other questions for Karen? Reem, did you have your hand up? Or exact same point? Okay. Anna?
When you were speaking to her about why she wanted New York Times bestseller, she said several times, because I always wanted it. When we're exploring this why, how important it is to, or let's say, what would be an answer where we can say, oh, okay, this is a good answer we can go through. Because when you say, because I always wanted it, I'm not sure if this is the answer that we're looking for, if you know what I mean. So what would you say, what would be the appropriate response that you would be satisfied with, and you know, okay, this is why she wanted it, and now we can move on?
The reason why I kept asking, it's just a little bit of a technique or something that I've learnt from studying Frank Bettger, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. And in there, he really encourages lots of questions. And why? Why do you want that? Tell me again why. What would it mean? And so I really, it was more that she could tell me that once, but she'll lose the awareness of it as I would. But the fact that every time it brought up and I said, okay, but why? Or what would it mean to you if that happened? What sort of house would you be living in? I would say, imagine you're now the New York Times best-selling author and you're earning this money. What sort of house are you living in? So even when it got to the money or the house, I was still weaving in the New York Times. So it was fully conscious in her mind, bringing it from the subconscious up to the conscious, that is what she wanted. And I wasn't looking for any other particular response. I just wanted to make sure that's what it was. Because generally the first answer somebody gives you is what they think you want to hear. And then when you keep asking more questions and the why again, you'll start to reveal itself deeper. And you'll see me maybe use that in the second conversation as well around objections. Okay, I understand that. Is there anything else in addition to? And so I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that I need to, that's actually there that I need to pull to the surface and work with.
Okay, that's great. Give them a hand. Thank you, Larissa, and thanks, Karen.